This is APS Film, and APS stands for Advanced Photo System, and it was supposed to be the next big thing in photography when it was released in the mid-90s. Now at a glance you might mistake it for 35mm film, because it looks similar in size, but the frame size is actually quite a bit smaller on APS film than it is on 35mm. Now in digital photography we talk about full frame sensors, being sensors that are of the same or similar size to 35mm film, and we have crop sensors or APS-C sensors that are based on the size of APS film frames. Now if you're old enough to remember the analog days but have no recollection of APS film, don't worry about it, you're not losing your marbles, or at least you might not be, because it didn't really take off like it was supposed to. The film was quite difficult to process because you needed specialist machinery to be able to do it, because the developed film is actually wound back up into the canister, unlike obviously 35mm film where you get the negatives separate and you throw the canister in the bin. So because not every photo lab developed the film, it didn't really take off, or at least by the time it started to get traction, digital had already pretty much taken over. So today I'll be photographing my local table tennis club with this roll of film that expired in 2001. So I've got my two Godox lights, 400 watts. I've got a continuous light as well, which I'll bring with me in the front of the car there, tripod, reflector, and a few light stands in the car ready to go. I sent the roll of film off to be developed to a place called Photo Hippo in Burnley, because they have the specialist equipment that's required to be able to develop APS film. And here it is. They've also sent me the scans by email. You see the little white mark there next to the number 4. That means the film has been developed and it's been rolled back into the canister. Number 1, there's a little circle mark, so if the film hasn't been exposed yet, that little circle will have a white mark in it. If it's been partially exposed, you'll see the number 2 next to it. That'll have a white mark in it. So with APS film, you can actually rewind the film back into the canister before you've shot all 25 exposures, which is really handy if, say, you are shooting with a black and white roll of film and then midway through your roll you want to switch to colour, for example, or to switch to a different film stock. You can rewind the film, load in a new one, and then load the old one back in at a later date. And then number 3, there's a little X that will appear with a white mark in it when you've fully exposed the roll of film. And then, like I said, the number 4 just shows that it's been developed there. So here are the images. You'll notice that they're a little bit grainier than you might expect. Now, because the frame size on APS is smaller than that of 35mm, you would expect it to be a bit grainier. You'd expect the quality to suffer a little bit. But I think that's mainly down to the fact that it's expired film. Like I said, it expired back in 2001, so it's at least 20 years out of date. And that is one of the effects that can happen from out-of-date film. So it's been really fun shooting with this. I can see the appeal in APS film, because it is foolproof, especially for the amateur market had digital not taken off. I think that APS could have been still around today, because it really is simple to use. You simply put your film in the top of the camera like that, close the camera, there's no messing around trying to thread the film into the take-up spool or anything like that. It's just load the film, it automatically winds on, you're ready to go. And it's a really good camera to use. Unfortunately though, APS isn't with us anymore. There are no new APS film stocks being released or being manufactured. And so if you want to use it, you'll have to buy expired APS film like I did. And of course, the problem with buying expired film, you don't know how it's been stored. And so you could have all sorts of deformities with it. I think definitely the graininess of those images is partially due to the fact that it's old film. So I actually took my digital camera as well on the shoot, so you can see side by side a comparison to what the digital images look like compared to the APS film.